Genesis chapter 33, verse 1. Jacob looked up, and there was Esau, coming with his 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two female servants. Verse 2. He put the female servants and their children in front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph in the rear. Verse 3. He himself went on ahead and bowed down to the ground 7 times as he approached his brother. Verse 4. But Esau ran to meet Jacob and embraced him. He threw his arm around his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Verse 5. Then Esau looked up and saw the woman and children. "Who are these with you?" he asked. Jacob answered, "They are the children God has graciously given your servant." Verse 6. Then the female servants and their children approached and bowed down. Verse 7. Next, Leah and her children came and bowed down. Last of all came Joseph and Rachel, and the two bowed down. Verse 8. Esau asked, "What's the meaning of all these flocks and herds I meet?" "To find favor in your eyes, my lord," he said. Verse 9. But Esau said, "I already have plenty. My brother, keep what you have for yourself." Verse 10. "No, please," said Jacob. "If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God, now that you have received me favorably." Verse 11. "Please accept the present that was brought to you, for God has been gracious to me, and I have all I need." And because Jacob insisted, Esau accepted it. Verse 12. Then Esau said, "Let us be on our way. I'll accompany you." Verse 13. But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are tender, and that I must care for the ewes and cows that are nursing their young. If they are driven hard just one day, all the animals will die." Verse 14. So let my Lord go on ahead of his servant, while I move along slowly at the pace of the flocks and herds before me and the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Seir. Verse 15. Esau said, "Then let me leave some of my men with you." "But why do that?" Jacob asked. "Just let me find favor in the eyes of my Lord." Verse 16. So that day Esau started on his way back to Seir. Verse 17. Jacob, however, went to Succoth, where he built a place for himself and made shelters for his livestock. That is why the place is called Succoth. Verse 18. After Jacob came from Padan Aram, he arrived safely at the city of Shechem in Canaan and camped within sight of the city. Verse 19. For 100 pieces of silver, he bought from the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, the plot of grounds where he pitched his tent. Verse 20. There he set up an altar and called it El Elohe Israel. Genesis chapter 34, verse 1. Now Dinah, the daughter Leah had born to Jacob, went out to visit the woman of the land. Verse 2. When Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, the ruler of that area, saw her, he took her and raped her. Verse 3. His heart was drawn to Dinah, daughter of Jacob. He loved the young woman and spoke tenderly to her. Verse 4. And Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl as my wife." Verse 5. When Jacob heard that his daughter Dinah had been defiled, his sons were in the fields with his livestock, so he did nothing about it until they came home. Verse 6. Then Shechem's father Hamor went out to talk with Jacob. Verse 7. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons had come in from the field as soon as they heard what had happened. They were shocked and furious, because Shechem had done outrageous things in Israel by sleeping with Jacob's daughter, things that should not be done. Verse 8. But Hamor said to them, My son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as his wife. Verse 9. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters and take our daughters for yourselves. Verse 10. You can settle among us. The land is open to you. Live in it, trade in it, and acquire property in it. Verse 11. Then Shechem said to Dinah's fathers and brothers, Let me find favor in your eyes, and I will give you whatever you ask. Verse 12. Make the price for the bride and the gift I am to bring as great as you like, and I'll pay whatever you ask me. Only give me the young woman as my wife. Verse 13. Because their sister Dinah had been defiled, Jacob's sons replied deceitfully as they spoke to Shechem and his father Hamor. Verse 14. They said to them, We can't do such a thing. We can't give our sister to a man who is not circumcised. That would be a disgrace to us. Verse 15. We will enter into an agreement with you on one condition only, that you become like us by circumcising all your males. Verse 16. Then we will give you our daughters and take your daughters for ourselves. We'll settle among you and become one people with you. Verse 17. But if you will not agree to be circumcised, we'll take our sister and go. Verse 18. Their proposal seems good to Hamor and his son Shechem. Verse 19. The young man, who was the most honored of all his father's family, lost no time in doing what they said, because he was delighted with Jacob's daughter. Verse 20. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of their city to speak to the men of their city. Verse 21. These men are friendly toward us, they said. Let them live in our lands and trade in it. The land has plenty of room for them. We can marry their daughters and they can marry ours. Verse 22. But the men will agree to live with us as one people only on the conditions that our males be circumcised, as they themselves are. Verse 23. Want their livestock, their property, and all their other animals become ours. So let us agree to their terms, and they will settle among us. Verse 24. All the men who went out of the city gate agreed with Hamor and his son Shechem, and every male in the city was circumcised. Verse 25. 3 days later, while all of them were still in pain, 2 of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, took their swords and attacked the unsuspecting city, killing every male. Verse 26. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword and took Dinah from the Shechem's house and left. Verse 27. The sons of Jacob came upon the dead bodies and looted the city where their sister had been defiled. Verse 28. They seized their flocks and herds and donkeys and everything else in theirs in the city and out in the fields. Verse 29. They carried off all their wealth and all their women and children, taking as plunder everything in the houses. Verse 30. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, You have brought trouble on me by making me obnoxious to the Canaanites and Perizzites, the people living in this land. We are few in number, and if they join forces against me and attack me, I and my household will be destroyed. Verse 31. But they replied, Should he have treated our sister like a prostitute?